I feed my chickens table scraps. Any scrap that comes out of the kitchen or the table, none of it gets in the trash can. It all goes out either to the pigs or the chickens, with the exception of things like bones that the animals shouldn't be eating. Those just go in the garden, straight in the garden for composting. But for chickens, there's a couple things they shouldn't eat. You should never give chickens green potato skins. They have too many instances, even though not every time, but you can definitely have some instances of toxicity with the alkaloids that you get in the green potato skins. Dried beans. You're not supposed to feed dried beans to your chickens. Honestly, they're not good for pigs either. Unroasted or uncooked beans, they mess up the digestion of chickens, and pigs too, I know that for a fact, where it changes the overall absorption and digestion of food in the gut. They get less digestion, more improper digestion of food in the gut, and they just don't get all the feed value out of their food anymore. Now, if you take those beans and roast them a little bit, totally changes the chemical structure in them, and now they're a great source of proteins, well-rounded proteins for your chickens. I'm actually probably going to try that this year. I grew beans for my chickens last year, but I only gave them a few at a time because I didn't want to overdo it and cause digestion issues, and I was a little concerned about that. This year, I'm going to try roasting them. I'm just going to get a cup or two of beans at a time. I'm just going to set them on top of my wood stove while I'm working and let them roast up a little bit till I can smell them browning, and then scrape them off and put another batch on. I figure that'll be worth trying anyway, see if it works. Meat products. Chickens can eat meat products, cooked or uncooked. It's not a big deal for them. Generally, the safe rule of thought is anything you're feeding your animals, as far as meat products, it should be cooked all the way just to ensure that it wasn't containing some kind of parasites or worms. And I'll give you that. That is a possible concern. So you might want to just go ahead and cook any meat scraps that were uncooked. Just cook them a little bit before you give them to your chickens. With the meat scraps, a lot of times they're fairly tough. Go ahead and chop them up a little bit. Cut them down, to dice them up fine, and that way your chickens can actually gulp them down and digest them fairly well without working too hard at it. Other things like banana peels. Chickens can't really eat banana peels. They'll peck at them and play with them, but they're really, for the most part, too tough, and they'll end up just stepping them down into the ground. So for something like banana peels, I chop those. Banana peels, pumpkin rinds is another one. After I can a bunch of pumpkins, we got the pumpkin rinds left over. I'll dice those up and use those as basically as a fiber filler with very little energy value, but I'll use that in my feed mixes for the chickens too. But the stuff like the meat products, banana peels, dice them up a bit. You want to have it nice and finely diced. Even the stems on the bananas actually have a fairly decent feed value to them, but chickens can't eat them until you dice them. So you just dice them up. Nothing to it. Now, banana peels actually have a fine feed value, and they're somewhat high in sugar too. Real high in fiber though, so you don't want to overdo it. If you guys eat a lot of bananas, you probably don't want to feed all of them to your chickens unless you have a lot of chickens. For things like citrus peels, lemons, limes, orange peels, generally you're not to feed those to your chickens. For the most part, your chickens aren't even going to peck at them. So if you toss them in your chicken coop, they're just going to end up stepping on it and making them into a compost. Just squishing them down to the dirt till they rot away. But see, the issue with the orange peels is the orange oil can potentially upset chickens. They're sensitive to some of those strong volatile smells too. Same with like why you're not supposed to put cedar chips in your chicken coop. That smell can kind of get to them. This is some of the same with the oil in the orange, with the citrus oil. But if I'm taking all these scraps and dicing them up, I can also take my orange peel and dice it up. And just mix the diced orange peel in with the banana peel. Then it's so evenly distributed that the chickens are fine with it. Because they're only getting a little piece here and there and they don't really care anymore. And then they devour it. So dicing the foods down for the chickens helps them a lot. It helps them not to waste your valuable kitchen scraps. I do call my kitchen and table scraps valuable. Even though they're not that valuable to me, they're valuable in other ways. Dicing them up helps the chickens to expend less energy to rip them apart, eat them, and digest them. Even smaller pieces, when they just get down to the gizzard, a big piece takes a long time and a lot of work for a gizzard to break down. Small pieces go a lot quicker. The chickens will spend a lot less energy digesting. Will digest things quicker and more efficiently that way too. Grains. You can feed any of your grain scraps, vegetable scraps, fruit scraps to your chickens. If they're big and hard like carrots, dice them up. Just small, and they'll eat the little pieces. They can digest those fine. Generally, things like chocolates and coffee grounds, you're not to feed your chickens. The agricultural extension around here warns against that because of complications that the caffeine can cause. I think really it's more an issue of hyperactive chickens could be a little bit scary if they're high on caffeine. And that could be scary, oh my. I've fed coffee grounds to my chickens, not a ton because I prefer to just throw them in the garden. I've not seen any adverse effects, but I am told not to do that by the extension because caffeine can cause some issues to the birds. You can raise chickens on nothing but garden scraps too, sure. Nothing but food scraps. Shucks, back in World War II, the agriculture department was recommending that everybody keep a small flock of chickens in their backyard. They said that a family of 4 could feed 4 chickens off of just their table scraps and get plenty of eggs from them too. Yes, you can feed chickens off of just table scraps. You may or may not be able to, depending on what your table scraps are like. You have to have enough protein and enough energy in them for the chickens. If you've got a lot of more like meat scraps, higher protein type, higher energy table scraps, you might be able to get away with feeding just table scraps, but you probably shouldn't bet on it. So at minimum though, I mean, nice little bowl here, nice little pile. That's going to be great for my chickens. They're going to love that. Give them that for breakfast in the morning. Table scraps are great for chickens. There's hardly anything they can't eat. I mean, dried beans can hurt them. Green potato skins aren't good for them. They can be toxic and cause them to get sick for a while. And avocado skins, same thing. Avocado skins are toxic to chickens. Don't feed them avocado skins if you can help it. If you did yesterday, oops, don't do it again. So yeah, feed them table scraps to your chickens. They'll love it. It's good for them. It'll help you lower your feed bill a little bit. Yeah, and that's handy too. Reuse, reduce, recycle, all that good stuff. Anything that comes out of your kitchen, don't throw it away. Either put it in the garden to compost or give it to your animals to eat. Well, that's what I got for you today on Northern Homesteading. Thanks for watching and check out our other videos. Bye.